welcome. Welcome to yet another episode here at Primate Connections in our Primate Heroes series. Today, I'm so excited to be interviewing the director of the Lemur Conservation Network, Corey Romberg. Corey, hi, welcome.
Hi, it's great to be with you, Corinne.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much. Now, we've already shown you folks at home that conservation comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. And what's really cool about what Corey and his team does is they're a network. And they actually help a plethora of organizations that are interested in lemur conservation keep it all together. So I'm going to, before I steal out Corey's thunder, let him tell you why they have a network and what's up with the work that they do at the Lemur Conservation Network.
Great, well, thanks. So the network started in 2015, really as a way to bring together all the work of all these great, over 50 different nonprofit conservation organizations working on the ground in Madagascar to help save the lemurs, doing a variety of different things for a variety of species all up and down the island. It was all really in response to the IUCN Primate Specialist Group in 2014. They released a very comprehensive paper. It was called A Strategy for Conservation of Lemurs, and it outlined all the critical areas and critical actions that need to be taken to save the lemurs, and they estimated it would take about $7.6 million to effectively go through all these actions and save the lemurs.
Wow.
So it's a lot of money, but it can be done little by little, and that's what we wanted to do. So a year later, in 2015, in February, we launched the network, and we brought together all those organizations, and not just those organizations, but also research groups from universities, and also zoos in Europe, Asia, North America. We brought them all together as a way to have, under one umbrella, a way that people could view everything going on in Madagascar and figure out how they wanted to help and learn about that. We kind of thought individually these organizations may have a few hundred followers, but if we could bring them all together, we can have thousands upon thousands of followers learning about lemur conservation, hopefully being inspired to donate themselves or to take actions themselves to help protect the lemurs. We also figured these are very small organizations. They don't have very much media backgrounds. They don't have very much access to internet. They're doing such amazing work on the ground, doing that everyday work to protect the lemurs. We wanted them just to focus on doing that work. We will focus on the social media. We'll spread their message. We'll share pictures, videos of the work they're doing, and be their voice to people all across the world on how people can help inspire conservation and be inspired to help conservation on their own through donations.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. And, you know, what I'm hearing is, the huge need that they have in Madagascar and the need for kind of the little guys to get a bigger voice. It is a big world out there. It's quite saturated by so many things. And so that's a great idea to have everyone come together and to be able to network and fundraise and communicate and share resources and things like that. And I heard you say 50 organizations, and I've done a lot of interviews with lemur conservation organizations. Can you just share with us briefly what is going on in Madagascar that there is such a need and that these lemurs are so in trouble?
Yeah, well, let's briefly talk a little bit about some of the threats they face, and that will kind of lead us into what these organizations are doing. Really, one of the biggest things is habitat loss. Habitat loss is the #1 reason why lemurs are endangered. Unfortunately, not a lot of people across the world, or even in Madagascar, realize how big of an issue lemur conservation is, and that was a whole nother reason to start the network, really just to to spread this message. Lemurs are actually considered the most endangered group of mammals on Earth, and 94% of all lemur species are endangered. But if you ask the everyday person, what do you think is the most endangered animals? You're going to hear pandas, elephants, rhinos. You hear a lot about that. Those groups, those conservation groups have done a lot already to get the word out. Lemurs are kind of lagging behind, but they probably need the most help. So we're trying to get that word out. But habitat loss is definitely #1. And a lot of it is not malicious. A lot of it is also not the habitat loss we hear of in Brazil, in the Amazon rainforest, where it's these big logging companies just tearing down huge patches of forest. This is more localized. It's locals who are really just trying to provide a life and provide food and money for their family. It's things like cutting down trees. A lot of it's slash and burn agriculture, so they can create land for rice paddies and for growing their own rice. A lot of it is also clearing land to have cattle grazing, and those are kind of the two biggest sources of income for the locals of Madagascar are cattle grazing and rice paddies. But it's destroyed over 90% of the original forest cover of Madagascar, and most lemur species do live in those rainforests. So that's affecting a lot, and it's the biggest thing is it's not, again, these huge tracts of land, it's little patches because it's small scale, it's locals. So some of the biggest issues we're facing are we're having just patches of forest, and how do we get the lemurs, how do we connect those patches? So that's one of the great things that a lot of these organizations are doing is not only planting trees and trying to rebuild a lot of that land, but also creating forest corridors and trying to connect those patches of forest so that lemurs are better able to mate to find their normal food sources and get from one area to another than they normally would have. It's also helping with new trees themselves because lemurs, a lot of them are important seed dispersers. Through the fruits and the food they eat, they're then spreading those seeds all throughout with their droppings. And so by creating these forest patches, by giving the lemurs more space to move, they're also able to help us humans in planting some of those new trees. Another big thing involved with that also is then giving the people of Madagascar alternative livelihoods, giving them new crops they can plant that aren't dangerous to the environment, like cocoa and vanilla are two big things that are on the rise in Madagascar, and those are shade-grown crops, which means they need shade, they need trees. It's a way to farm and make money for your family without having to cut down any trees. And then ecotourism is a huge thing. We really believe that ecotourism could be the #1 thing that could save the lemurs by making the people of Madagascar know that the lemurs are more valuable alive than dead, and they can be a great source of income for people coming to see the lemurs. Of course, Madagascar is the only place in the world where there are lemurs in the wild, but also giving them jobs. And there are some guides in national parks, they can make $200 in a week, whereas in some of their normal jobs, they would make $2 in a year. Wow. So that's a huge economic incentive. So those are some of the big things a lot of those organizations are working on.
And, you know, I really love it when we get to hear a rundown like that, because it just really reminds us, you know, all of the aspects that are necessary for a successful conservation program. And so what you folks just heard is everything from tree planting to education to alternative livelihood development. Maybe there's some agricultural things in there, how to grow vanilla, how to grow cocoa, different things like this. And so I think it's important for us all to remember that it's never a single solution set, and once we're in trouble at the numbers that we are in Madagascar, the resources and the implementation of those resources that need to be implemented are huge because, you know, the needs are so great in these areas.
Yeah, if I can, you know, like you said, there's just so many organizations doing so many different work, from community education to the planting of trees, the forest corridors, the ecotourism. And that's another thing we really are proud of with the network, is that it kind of follows the donors choose model, where, you know, we are those individuals or zoos or businesses who are looking to donate to lemur conservation. They can go on our website, acts kind of like a fundraising guide, and they can see every one of those organizations, see exactly the work they're doing, and they can know their money is going to an organization that does work with a type of work that they really can support, and know their money is going directly to that, and then they can follow that particular organization throughout their work.
That's fantastic, and I've heard a lot about these donor choose models. So folks at home, if you want to go ahead and check out the Lemur Conservation Network directly, this is all provided for you on the website, where you can have a kind of a donors choose model, look at all the organizations they support and the work that that organization does, and then decide if you want to support them or maybe the next guys, because your heart's more in one area of conservation or conservation work than the other. And all of this makes us really excited, because here at Primate Connections, we believe in this network, and we're actually quite good friends with many of the members that are inside the network. And so today, through this interview, we are going to be donating 40% of all the proceeds that come from this interview right to Lemur Network.
Thank you so much. That is so great.
Yeah, so folks at home, you guys can go ahead and see right here on your screen. This is the Lemur Conservation Network's affiliate link. It's primateconnections.com/calendar?AFFID. That stands for affiliate ID. This is how our software knows that these funds should be going to the Lemur Conservation Network. So that's AFFID equals 261403. Again, www.primateconnections.com/calendar?AFFID equals 261403. 403. And so inside the 2017 Primate Connections calendar, folks, there are several of the organizations that are inside the Lemur Conservation Network represented as one of the months. So this is kind of a way, if you want your money to just kind of go to the very top tier and let them network it down, it's a great organization to fund and to put your money here, because it can then be utilized by them for things that they find most critical, or to support a project that maybe hasn't gotten a lot of action in a little while. The 40% proceeds from the calendars that are made through this interview can maybe be doled out in some of those special resource cases where you need something in particular. Before we close, Corey, though, I just want to ask you really quickly, it's one of my favorite things to ask, what can people do from home besides probably donating that would be helpful for lemurs and lemur conservation?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a question that can be asked about a lot of different species. A lot of people feel like, okay, these animals are in Madagascar. What can I actually do here in America or in Europe or wherever you may be to help? Of course, we talked about donating, and that's definitely a good thing, even a little bit, even if it's only $1 or $2. And we talked about that $7.6 million. It's a big number, but we really are stronger together. So if we can get everyone and get a lot of people just donating these small amounts. I've been so inspired. I've heard stories from a 7-year-old girl recently who she loved lemurs so much for her birthday. Instead of having her friends give her gifts, she wanted to have her friends donate to lemur conservation, and we were able to help her out through the network and let her choose an organization she really liked. But that was just so inspiring to see a kid that young be so inspired to know that she could make a difference just for having a birthday party. But apart from that, there's also a lot of things we can do, a lot of actions we can take. I mentioned earlier the cocoa and the vanilla, and the big way we can get these farmers to switch over to cocoa and vanilla as opposed to the cattle grazing or the rice paddies is by that economic incentive. It's by being able to pay them more. Well, the way we're able to pay them more is by having that be a lucrative business. So by supporting those chocolate companies and those vanilla companies that are producing right in Madagascar, you're supporting those farmers, and you're helping those farmers make that choice to choose the sustainable form of agriculture. There is a company called Madagascar. They are the leading chocolate bar producer in Madagascar, and they sell chocolate bars across the United States at Whole Foods. You can buy that Madagascar. Also, you can get it online on Amazon. You can order those Madagascar chocolate bars. Not only is it pure Madagascar cocoa, and it's the yummiest chocolate bar you'll ever have, but you will be supporting not only those farmers just by buying the chocolate bar. Madagascar also donates a proceed of their profits directly to lemur conservation efforts. Vanilla also, a lot of the world's vanilla comes from Madagascar, so you can shop and you can look on the back of those bottles and see if it's a type of vanilla that says it's produced in Madagascar. Buy that brand, you'll be supporting those efforts. So that's one of the biggest, easiest things you can do. And certainly, like I also mentioned earlier, ecotourism is just so important to saving the lemurs. So if you have the means to travel internationally, and if you're considering an ecotourism destination, Costa Rica, maybe a safari in Africa or Australia, consider Madagascar. You'll really be surprised just how beautiful the country is. Gorgeous coastlines, gorgeous beaches, some of the world's best snorkeling, but also the chance to see one of the most unique and important animals in the earth, and the only place you can see them is Madagascar, and you would be supporting those people by traveling to Madagascar and letting them know how important lemurs are to that island.
And I can certainly concur on that, folks. I did have the fortunate opportunity to go to Madagascar recently, and it will absolutely blow you away and transform your heart. All the animals, the people, the landscapes, it's like nothing other on the planet. And yes, that's great advice. Go, go, go if you can. And we are just so grateful to all of you guys over there at Lemur Conservation Network, from all of us here at Primate Connections. We look forward to watching you guys continue to grow and to empower the people and the organizations of Madagascar. And we hope that this interview and any proceeds we can procure off of it are valuable to you guys, and that you guys will continue to put them to such good use out in the field.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely, Corey. You guys take care. Thank you.